anyone I've met over the last 6 months, I won't recognize in public for a while.
Right.
So it's going to take a bit.
The masks definitely will mask you a little bit, but also at the same time, I think it's interesting is because we can't see, our nose and mouth and all that stuff. It makes you have to look into each other's eyes more often.
I notice people's eyes much more than I used to because it's like all I get from them. And I have noticed that the mask is really, it comes in handy when I'm in meetings or things like that because I have a terrible poker face. And so trying to remain impassive is difficult sometimes for me.
Right.
So the mask has helped tremendously with that.
Well, and also in Oklahoma, that wind gets you right in the face, but when you're wearing a mask, it's awesome. I'm like, oh, this is kind of nice.
It kind of keeps your face warm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hi, welcome to Studio Stillwater. I'm Michelle Charles.
And I'm Chris Peters.
And we are talking today with Jeanette Burkhart, candidate for Stillwater Board of Education.
Hi, it's nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming. All right. So, Jeanette, we're wanting to sit down and get to know the candidates a little bit better. These forums, we have them, they're great. But a lot of it's really specific on policies. Plus, it's kind of tough to tell someone, okay, tell me everything about yourself. You have 90 seconds, go.
Yeah, I know. I was feeling that crunch earlier today, and I'm thinking, what can I possibly say in 90 seconds that's going to encapsulate me as a person, who I am, what I stand for? And I'm like, I think that's pretty much impossible, actually.
Right.
And so I was just standing there staring at that blank paper going, okay, now what? And then one of my kids came up and distracted me, so I have to think about it. I haven't had to think about it again. So, but that's tomorrow. So
you have a little time.
I do.
Yes. So this will hopefully fill that gap and help people to get to know you a little bit better as a person. So let's start with something really simple. Okay. How did you get to Stillwater?
My husband was offered a job at Ditch Witch.
Okay. How long ago?
He's been here 8 years, and the kids and I have been here 7 years. We bought a fixer-upper, and so it wasn't kid-friendly when we bought it. We ripped everything out on the first floor practically. And so we had to rebuild it and put it back together. So the kids and I stayed in Illinois while my husband worked and then worked on the house and fixed it so we could actually move in. Well, when we moved in, I didn't have a kitchen, to be clear, and we didn't have flooring.
Wow.
So it's been a work in progress. The kids and I have been here like 7 years, like I said.
Oh, wow.
So we're still working on the house.
Okay.
We got it. The inside's pretty much done. We're now looking to the outside of the house and yard and stuff and landscaping and stuff. So.
I love a fixer-upper. I've made my husband remodel 3 houses for me.
Oh,
yeah.
So he's a professional. I should ask him for some help.
Semi-professional. People will say, "Oh, you laid that tile. I should hire you to do that." And he'll say, "You can't afford me," because he hates it so much at this point. I've abused the poor man. What kind of house?
It's a 1960s kind of mid-century modern Frank Wright type of a thing.
Go.
Oh,
Just
super
like
cool.
So I've done tiling. I've learned to do that, and I agree with your husband. You cannot afford me because I'm meticulous. Like, it has to line up, it has to be straight, and then even you walk the room when you're done, and you're like, I made that mistake right there, and
that grout line that's too narrow or too wide.
Yes, exactly. And I did a pallet wall in the laundry room. That was fun.
Nice.
That really turned out nice. I really liked how that worked out. So,
well, that is really exciting. That is super, super cool. Well, okay. So that's what brought you to Stillwater.
Yeah. Well, you said you're in Illinois. Are you originally from Illinois?
My husband's originally from Illinois. I'm originally from Wisconsin.
Okay.
And
Couldn't tell.
I thought I heard a hint of something.
You can kind of pick it up every once in a while. Depends on what word I say. But we went home and people asked me from at home, Wisconsin, where are you from? I'm like, I'm from here. And then look at me, the side glance and tilt their head and and just
to me, all you got to do is say Wisconsin and that's like,
right?
Yeah.
There it is.
There
it's the ringer.
I don't know. I had a friend who lived up north and then she moved down south. And all of her neighbors down south thought she was a Yankee, and then she would go home and her friends would be like, what are you doing? You sound like, Anyway, so yeah, you're kind of in between now, right?
My family calls me a traitor. all
That's
joking.
funny.
They think it's funny, but they're like, you don't sound like you're like part of us anymore.
So where did you grow up in Wisconsin? Who is us? Where is us?
Eden, Wisconsin. It's a very small farming community. There was, when I was a kid, the population was under 300.
Wow.
Oh,
Then I lived in
wow.
rural Wisconsin. So town was like 200 people. So we lived about 20 minutes outside of town.
Oh my goodness.
So both my grandfathers were farmers, dairy farmers. I grew up baling hay, picking rocks,
Right.
dodging cow pies in the field, in the pasture. So I have older brother, so
Okay.
and two younger sisters.
Did you work in the dairies?
My mom and dad did when I was younger, and so I would ride my bike in the barn when they were milking, and I would, go and pet the cows and stuff. And
Right.
when I was a little kid, yeah.
And dairy farmers, I mean, that's a tough life. I mean, those animals have to be milked twice a day, and you can't take a break. You can't go on vacation. You can't do anything.
Right.
So it sounds like you grew up seeing a lot of hard work.
Yes. Yes, I did. But it was fun. We would chop wood, and we would, we heated with wood. Heat.
Okay.
So we chopped wood, and I read a lot as a kid, a lot of work. We had animals. We had chickens, and we had a cow named Buttercup.
Aw.
She was sweet, and we had dog, of course, and we had geese, and we lived out in the country. So we, cut the grass.
I'm
Okay.
picturing in my head Charlotte's Web, the
A
farm
little
of
bit.
Charlotte's
Right,
Web.
a little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that is really nice. It sounds very idyllic, actually.
Yeah.
It sounds like a great place to be a kid.
It was awesome. We would climb trees and go down into the creek and mess around. And we had a spring. So and our land that we lived on butt up to my grandfather's land, and so we had like the run of like hundreds of acres. And then he had the land adjoining to us at the other farm, they called it. So we had lots of space to run and play as a kid, and
So
stuff.
So what kind of adventures did you have? I mean, did you have like a little clubhouse or somewhere you would go explore or something? I mean, you'd had hundreds of acres to do it, but
Yeah, we had lots of fun. We, my brother and I would go and explore. He's 3 years older than I am, so we were really good friends. And we had a dirt bike. So he would drive the dirt bike. I'd jump on the back. We'd go see grandma. My mom's like, bring her cake. So I'm like balancing a cake over through the fields and stuff like that. And she's like, your mom needed this or your dad needed the wrench. And so bring that back. And so we would go in the woods, and in the line fence behind our house caught all a bunch of snow. So that was like, when I was a kid, it was over my head because I fell through once. And my brother turned around, I'm like, where are you? I'm like, I'm here. Come pull me out.
oh my
We had
gosh.
We had a big sledding hill behind us, and I drove tractors as a kid, and my dad would take us out on the lake and pull the rope, on the car. We put the rope on the car, and I skate behind it, and that's how I learned how to drive when I was 8, is on the driving on the frozen lake. And he's like, don't go towards the edge because it's thin there and you might fall in. I'm like, oh, okay. Stick shift, So I'm like, what if I hit you? And he's like, don't worry. There's not enough friction. You won't actually run me over. And thinking about this now as a parent, I'm thinking, oh my goodness, my mom didn't know what we were doing, But,
was this one of those don't tell mom things?
Oh, yeah, totally. Don't tell mom, but this is what we're going to go do, So totally the all-American, growing up as a kid.
Right.
So do you miss the snow?
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
Hey, we got some this
I know.
year.
I was so excited. I'm like,
Snowmans.
I think I was
we
more
had
excited.
snowmans.
I was more excited than the kids, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So when I complain about being cold, do you think I'm a whiner? Probably.
No, I get cold now. My family teases me because I've gotten soft because I live here, right? But I'm not too soft because I'm a grad student at OSU, so I go to campus. Well, I used to before the pandemic, right? And I'd wear like a spring coat, like a pullover. And there's a couple of kids in my class that were like, hat, scarf, gloves. I'm like, it's only 40. Like it's, but they were wrapped up like it was like 10 outside. I never said
probably
anything.
from Texas.
Probably. There's a lot of Texas plates here in town, so.
It depends on where you're from. We went down to the Gulf Coast a while back, and there were people, it was like in the 60s, and there were people wearing North Face jackets.
Well, you're in Texas, right?
Yeah. Okay.
It's usually like, in the summer, it's like 120. So,
Right.
like,
it all balances.
yeah, it balances out.
Yeah. True. Very true. What did you learn? Like, how did that kind of background, that kind of childhood influence you?
Well, it was hard work. We always worked before we played. We had to get the chores done and take care of the animals. Even before school, we had a long, twisted driveway. It was like over half mile long. And so we lived on top of the hill. And we'd see the bus coming, and you're like, you have to run down the driveway to get the bus because Roy was not waiting for you. Okay. He was not waiting for you. So you had to run if he sees you run. So I had to get the chores done, hard work, do what you're told, be happy in the small things in life. I love reading. I still love reading. I always had pets and cats and dogs and chickens, and we had a pet pig.
What was the pig's name?
Tony.
Okay.
Tony. He was better than a dog. I kid you not.
Pigs are great, actually.
They're very smart.
Can you train pigs to like do better with the messes they make, like better than dogs?
I don't know.
Like train them to like use a litter box like a cat or something?
You can?
You can train pot-bellied pigs to use a litter box.
Yeah. But Tony was like, he grew up, big pig.
He was a hog.
So when he was little, we lived on top of the hill, and he would sit there because he knew it was time for us to get home from school, and he would charge us. He'd squeal with delight and come running at you. And it was cute when he was like, 20 pounds, but he got to like 500 pounds. You're like, oh, he's going to take me out. But he always stopped really fast and really right before he hits you. But man, those couple of seconds, you're like, he's taking me out. He's taking me out.
I was down at a pig farm down near Coyle.
Yes.
Just right out off of Coyle Road, right by the river there. And we were interviewing the farmer there. And the pig pens were kind of like, I'm totally blanking, pallets.
Oh, okay.
Like, just kind of all stood up on the side and kind of strapped together. And this hog was just kind of like, he decided he wanted to come see us. And he just got up on that thing, and it like just crushed under his weight.
Yes.
And I was like, do we need to, he's coming this way. I mean, I think I can run pretty fast, but I've seen these pigs run pretty fast too. 500-pound pig will make you think twice.
They're very social.
Yeah.
I mean, they like people.
Right.
I also learned that, well, we eventually ate Tony. So it was sad. I didn't, as a child. Yeah.
What was Tony's most tasty part?
Oh.
I don't know, because I refused to eat him. He was my friend. So.
Okay.
And then my dad tricked me into eating part of him, and I was really mad.
Oh.
Yeah. But then it's the circle of life, right?
Right.
Like, so that's how I grew up thinking and knowing, that's where food comes from. That's what happens, so, and we didn't have a lot of money. So.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, as a farm kid, you very quickly learn that you don't name anything you're going to eat. I mean, that's just kind of something you have to do. I actually had a pet steer named Bucky.
Okay.
And I had a similar story because we figured out that it doesn't make any sense to have a steer that dies of old age.
Right. Yep.
And he got to where he wouldn't stay in the fence, and we would pet him, and my husband would kind of wrestle with him when he was little, and that was cute. And then Bucky weighed like 1,100 pounds.
Yeah.
And, it's like, he's going to kill somebody. This is dangerous. So eventually we had a discussion that Bucky needed to go. And I sat at my table and I cried.
Aww.
And I said, I can't eat Bucky. I just can't do it. And my husband's looking at me like I'm insane. And I said, if I ate Bucky, I said, the meat would taste like fear and betrayal.
Oh, yeah.
You guys you found a fixer-upper, so that's probably within city limits, I would assume. And so probably there's no pigs or cows running around property. What pets do you have now?
Exactly.
We had chickens, got rid of the chickens. And we have a dog. Got her as a puppy. She'll be 2 in March. Her name's Hazel.
Okay.
And we have a leopard gecko named Katie.
Cool.
Or gecko.
So you're not doing the backyard chickens?
We were. My eldest was giving me a lot of gripe about taking care of the chickens.
Yeah.
And then we had them in a spot where got too muddy in the rainy season, and the poor chickens were just that's not a healthy situation for
Right.
them to be in. There was it's all mud and it didn't get enough direct sunlight to,
Right.
get it actually kind of dry in there. And so we gave them to a friend of ours. She lives out in the country and
Okay.
she had chickens already. So she gives me updates. She sends me pictures of them via Facebook and stuff. She's like, here they are. They're having fun.
Aw.
And she's like, have you ever want eggs? I'm like, I know. But,
Aw.
they're sweet and happy now. So they
Very
live out, they're
good.
country chickens now.
As chickens probably should be if
Right.
they're going to roam and everything.
Right.
Yeah.
Free
Yeah.
range is always better, I
I mean,
think.
I'm glad they made it legal for backyard chickens for some people, but there's definitely, you still got to, just like any other pet or animal, it's something else, or kid,
Right.
you got to take care of it.
Well, we back
Absolutely.
up right to the woods. And so, I was going to let them out. And then one day as I'm walking up the stairs, I look out the window and lo and behold, what I see out there was, what do you guys call them here? Not mountain lions, but
Oh, really? A cougar?
not a cougar, but
Bobcat?
Bobcat. Yes, thank
Oh.
you. Bobcat. I mean,
Okay.
2:00 in the afternoon, like 10 feet away from my house, not even. Walking down the trail my kids make, down into the woods. I'm like, okay, we can't let the chickens up because they will not last long. And so I was going to do that. And then I'm like, well, we can't do that. And then we had a fox underneath our deck, really pretty fox.
Yeah.
So I'm like, yeah, that's,
Yeah,
Yeah.
we had some backyard chickens, and one day went out there and saw a bunch of white feathers, and pretty sure either the local owl or a hawk or something came by, and
That'll do it.
so then it was like, okay, well now the chicken coop needs a roof, and now you got to like kind of box them all
Yeah,
in to
yeah.
keep them safe. There's
Yeah.
even here in the city, there's predators.
Absolutely there are. Okay, so we know that you like animals.
yes.
What else is important to you? What's important to you?
Family. Family's important to me. I don't know where I'd be without them.
And by family, what do you mean? I mean, do you mean like extended family, nuclear family?
Yes,
who are we talking
everybody.
about?
Everybody. I love my husband, love my kids. My mom raised me. My parents are divorced. As of, a lot of people's parents these days. I love my in-laws. I love Ben. My husband Ben he's one of 7 siblings, so lots of family on that side, lots of cousins. We were just with his side for a family reunion in Branson. We wore masks and we went to Silver Dollar City and all that fun stuff.
Right.
And they rented his house, and so we all stayed in together. It's a really big house, and so it was just. It was 25 of us because 2 of his siblings and their families didn't make it. And so it was just fun just hanging out and just being as a family and laughing and making memories and doing puzzles and sitting down and eating together is just fun. And then with my kids, watching them grow up and how they get their own individual ideas and personalities and their thoughts and likes and dislikes. Like I had to twist, twist, but I'd talk into my 9-year-old trying peanut butter cookies the other day. It's just
Okay.
like, you don't want to try it. It's a cookie. I felt kind of like, you can try it, do it.
How bad can it be?
I know, right?
It's a
And I made
cookie.
it. The kids, my husband's all saying, Mom doesn't make anything that she doesn't like. So, he tried it, but he wasn't a fan.
Aw.
So he likes peanut butter, but just wasn't a fan of the peanut butter cookie. So,
Okay. So you said you're in graduate school. What are you studying?
fire and emergency management,
Ooh, okay.
which is a mouthful.
No, very, very cool. So what's your goal with that?
I like to get a job, hopefully locally here in town, or probably maybe Tulsa, Oklahoma City, maybe Red Cross, or every city has their emergency management team, which I volunteer for here in town for SEMA.
Nice.
Okay.
Volunteering for them for the past couple years, learning a lot with them.
How does that volunteer role work? I mean, like what do you actually do?
Well, we do training, and then like you would see me at like the Christmas parade. I'm running the barricades, or I'm at homecoming or the homecoming
Okay.
parade, or
So like crowd control
crowd
type
control,
stuff?
traffic control, crowd control. Like we line up like for Christmas parade. I'm in charge of lining everybody up, in the correct order behind in all the blocks. A whole team of us, we're all working together, trying to get everybody lined up
Right.
in the right spot, and
Interesting.
you guys
Okay.
see a nice parade,
I
and
didn't
it's
know
not all.
SEMA was that involved in that structure of the the parade.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It makes sense now. I'm like, oh, of course, yeah. Safety.
Well, since the homecoming crash, there is so much more planning that goes into that. I mean, there was before, but now it's like they're bringing in heavy equipment. They're bringing in big things to block the streets off. There's so much preparation.
Yeah.
That SEMA does for so many of our events. Actually, they play a big part. The Thanksgiving meal distribution, they actually blocked off streets and we're helping with that.
Nice.
Yeah.
We're kind of like, we're unseen, but that's okay. I mean,
right?
Yeah.
Not everybody gets a front seat on everything, but so helping out in the back.
Your values, your life experiences, how did all of those things lead you to wanting to serve on the school board?
Short answer or long answer? No,
long answer, of course.
Well, I was watching a virtual meeting, right? Because COVID,
Right.
everything is shut down. And I was listening to everybody's, some parents went up and spoke, and then the board was talking, and, the board is elected officials and they speak for the people, right? And so the board, I only agreed with one person on the board. I'm like, this is crazy. Like, they're elected officials. And the person in my ward was like, I wasn't agreeing with what he was saying. And so I'm like, you know what? I think I can help out. I think I can maybe be better for the kids, like do something to help them out, to be a voice for the children, because I heard a lot of I's and we's, but not really us and we type of as a community as a whole. And so I'm like, I said this to myself, my poor husband. I'm like, if there's an open seat, I think I'm going to run. I think I can help. I just want to help. I want to help people. That's what emergency managers do, right? Is we help.
Right.
And I've applied for a job at the Red Cross, which is also FEMA, also emergency managers all in there. And I just want to help people, and I think the kids need a voice. It's their education.
All right. So, I mean, do you feel like, what perspective do you think is missing?
The parent and the children perspective, I think. The Board of Education is just that. It's for education. That's what they should be doing, is making choices for the education. I support, our school system. I support our school district and the teachers and, the bus drivers and the aides and the assistants and everybody that goes into educating our children. But I want to be the voice of the children, because I see my kids struggling. I've talked to parents. I'm on several, Facebook pages, and everybody's talking about how their children are suffering, that they get frustrated, that they don't understand. Some of the parents, they have to work, and I have luxury. I get to stay at home with my kids, and that's not everybody's story. We all have a different story. Mm-hmm. And I think that I can be that voice and listen to the people and say, the parents want face-to-face school for their children. We filled out those surveys, right? I don't know how many, we filled out 2 or 3 surveys now.
There have been at least 2, I know.
I think
2, and to me, they were the exact same survey. I mean, they really, I remember watching that meeting and saying, well, we need to get the feedback from the parents. And then when I got that survey, I was like, this is like the same survey that was put out in the summer. Mm-hmm. And I know you're like kind of stretched on resources, and Barry there is probably like doing way more, just like everybody's doing way more than they originally signed up for. But I was like, don't know if this is a good way to do this.
I think the second survey was supposed to reach more people. It seems like it.
But the questions were like the same.
Sure. I know. So, I mean, there are obviously a lot of frustrations that people have. I mean, what kinds of issues are you hearing people talk about? What are people experiencing?
Well, for instance, they feel like they were surveyed, as I am a parent, right?
Right.
I was surveyed and I was asked my opinion, and I made choices for my husband and I sat down and we talked about it. We made choices specifically for our family, for our children's education.
Right.
But I feel like they've been pretty much ignored up to this point. Like, we chose face-to-face school. That's why we want our kids in school. And then other parents didn't choose that, which is totally fine. That's their choice. That's their family. They made the choice that's best for their family. But the parents that want face-to-face don't have that option. And we were asked, but we were ignored.
Right.
And the kids are suffering, and it's just sad to see that they're not getting the education that they deserve.
And I want to point out too that as we're having this discussion, I mean, we're all wearing masks, and you specifically said that you felt more comfortable wearing a mask because you had been to Walmart where not everyone was wearing one, and you wanted to be sure that you weren't exposing anybody to anything. Right. So it doesn't sound like this is a COVID denial kind of thing.
Oh, no. COVID is real. My dad called me several months ago and asked me if it was real. I'm like, yes, it is real. Please social distance, wash your hands, wear a mask. And when we've pulled back, it was last spring break, we started pulling back. I mean, this is what I studied at school is COVID, disaster response, pandemics, and masks and social distancing and hand washing and, going out only if you have to, like doctor's appointments or, do a grocery pickup versus walking into Walmart, do all those things that you can. And it is proven that, this works, this helps. Now, I'm not saying it's 100% effective because nothing is 100% effective. And you have to wear them properly. Like I said, I went to Walmart today. There were 3 people not wearing masks and 7 people I saw wearing masks with their nose exposed.
Right.
So unless you're specifically only a mouth breather, that wasn't working, right?
Right.
And so, and it's been proven in schools that if they do this, and their schools are awesome, they have all this stuff in place. They have all the PPE. We have, smaller classrooms or class sizes because not everybody chose to do face-to-face, which is their total right.
Right.
And so the classroom, like my son's one class is 9 kids, 9. So, and they've gone to school.
That's unheard of.
Right. And they have gone to school. They all wear their masks. They do social distancing. And it's fine. We haven't had any breakouts. The public schools are closed, but the private schools and the daycares are all open, and they haven't had a breakout or an outbreak at all, right? And so why can't the public schools do that? They have the same means, the same protocols, the same even masks and stuff, but why can't the public schools do that?
Okay. So are your other kids enrolled in public school then?
Yep, all 4 of them are.
Okay.
I have a freshman, a middle schooler, and 2 elementary.
Okay. All right. With everything that the school board's been facing this year, they've been taking a lot of heat.
Oh,
right?
Yes. Oh,
I mean, whether you're in school, whether you're not in school, balancing different priorities, trying to ensure everybody's safe. Not an easy job right now. What makes you want to take that on?
Yes, it's not an easy job. The school board has done great. I mean, going into this, nobody knew what we were doing, right? We didn't know what we were doing. We didn't know how effective any of our protocol was going to be, if at all. We didn't know, all the side effects. We didn't know the symptoms. And it was good for the schools to say, okay, we're just going to stop it right now. We're going to do online and try to figure this out.
So do you mean
great.
Last spring?
Last spring.
Okay.
When everybody pulled out, that was right for everybody to do that because we didn't know what we were dealing with.
Yeah.
And we didn't know the safety precautions, what we needed to do.
Right.
But now that I feel that we're farther into this and we kind of know there's lots of studies, you can look back at, I think Governor Stitt talked about a North Carolina study, a Wisconsin study just came out saying, we can come back to school, we can do it safely, we need to have the protocols in place, the PPE, which we all have, at first it was hard to get masks and stuff like that, but now we have hand sanitizer and masks and everything when we have it all in place. The schools have done a fantastic job of getting everything in place and making sure everybody has their masks, and if they have extra masks and hand sanitizers and extra, everything in place, so we can utilize that.
Right.
And the studies and research have shown that we can go back to school safely, and I think we should.
Okay. That one thing that I noticed when I was just, I haven't had a chance to read the whole report, but that CDC report that came out earlier this week that said that with precautions, it should be safe to go back to school. Those precautions, though, they're talking very much about the need to control the spread in the community.
Right.
For people to do that, social distancing, the hand washing, using the sanitizer, wearing the masks and things like that. Do you feel confident that our community is doing enough to slow the spread?
I think we're doing enough to slow the spread, yes. Again, but we're Americans. We're very independent and individualistic, and we're not going to do what we don't want to do. We can't make anybody do it. And I don't blame the people out in public. I went to Lowe's. I went to Walmart today. I went to Lowe's a couple weeks ago, and people weren't wearing masks. But you know what? I don't blame the workers for not saying anything to any of those people, because you know what? I won't want to get punched in the face. You don't know what you're walking into, right?
Right.
And so I don't blame them. And you can't make everybody do it. But in school, that's more mandated, right?
Sure.
You can, and people have, different autoimmune deficiencies and different things where they maybe have asthma and they can't get all the oxygen that they need through the mask. I understand that.
Okay.
But in the schools, it was my choice to send. It was our choice to send our kids to school, and I think they should uphold what they said they were going to do, and they have not.
Okay. Now, I mean, when you get on school board, it's, you decide a lot of issues that, I mean, once you get those kids back in school, right?
Right.
And you're dealing with some of the issue that has driven you to run, what other things are you concerned about, or what else would you like to see happen in the schools? Have you thought about that?
Yeah, being on the board is not an easy job by any means. You get a lot of flack. I don't think you get a lot of positive feedback, right? But you have a lot of issues that you need to deal with, and you're not always going to be popular, and people are always going to disagree with you, but you can't make everybody happy, right? But you have to go with what the majority of the public wants. Other issues I'd like to see kind of dealt with better is the food insecurities that we have here in Oklahoma. I know we're doing food right now. We can do pickups. But what about the kids that their parents are at work and they don't have a vehicle?
I've thought about that.
And they can't get to that food. What are we doing about those kids? Or what about, domestic abuse and child abuse? They're like, well, it's way down. Well, yeah, it's way down because kids aren't going to school. Those are the people that call in and say, I think there's an issue at this house. I think you can go check it out. What about the access to even like social interaction? Kids learn a lot through social play, social interaction, and I did not go to school for an elementary, middle school, or high school teacher. People go to college for 4 years for those jobs specifically. And how I was taught, like algebra, is not the same how they're teaching my son algebra. Okay. And I love him a lot to relearn algebra. Okay.
You're a good mom.
I've been relearning like division. And
right.
Things. My kids are in elementary school, and they're learning like pre-algebra stuff that I don't think I learned until I was like in 9th or 8th grade.
I'm right there with you.
So like in some ways I'm like, well, okay, that must be progress if they can learn this stuff much earlier in life.
Right.
Sure.
But at the same time, like I'm like, okay, well, I've got to relearn it with them.
Right.
Yeah, that is exactly right. The parents are having to go through sort of an education process as well, just even with the curriculum. Don't even get my husband started on math now.
Yeah.
But yeah, so lots of things there. Okay, well, you alluded to this. You said that, it's been pretty tough to be on the school board. I mean, in spite of all the abuse that, has been kind of heaped on people, are you prepared to be the target of all that ire?
Yes, I'm prepared. I have 4 kids. I am married. I've dealt with volunteer organizations before, and so I'm prepared to handle whatever comes my way. I don't take things very personally. I don't get offended very easily. You can ask my husband about that. I'm not somebody that's, let's sit down and figure this out. Let's talk this out. Let's see how we can figure this out. I think, I'm new. I've never run for anything before in any public office anyways. Well, except like what junior high was like, and, was I like student council or something like that.
Okay.
So that doesn't really count, I guess. But anyways, and I think like as a public, we can figure this out. We can get to where we need to be, that we can figure it out and make some solutions and try to find like a happy medium between the public and what they want and the board, and kind of mesh those together and figure out, okay, what do you want? Kind of be like the referee, I guess.
Okay.
Or the mediator, I guess, and try to figure that out where, not everybody's going to be happy, but majority of people are going to walk away feeling like, okay, they gave a little, we gave a little, but we both kind of met in the middle and figured out from there.
Okay, so it sounds like you're kind of viewing yourself as potentially being sort of a liaison
yeah.
between the parents and the school district.
Right, correct.
Okay.
I mean, because some of the board, where they stand personally. I mean, they said it in the meetings and where they stand.
Right.
And I'm trying to be that person to be in the middle and try to figure this out, a liaison, if you say, or mediator, and try to make everybody happy.
Okay.
Not everybody's not gonna be happy, but you know what I mean.
I know, I understand what you mean. So what kind of things does your family do for fun?
With like bike riding, like be outside. My husband's really into pickleball, which I didn't know that was a sport. I thought he was totally like playing me for something. I'm like, what, pickleball? You're making this up, right? He's kind of a joker, so.
No, that is getting to be a big thing now. There is actually there's a new restaurant and recreation center in Oklahoma City called Chicken and Pickle.
Really?
That I just found on the internet yesterday. And they have outdoor and indoor pickleball courts.
What?
They have leagues. Yeah.
Don't tell my husband.
Okay. Well, don't listen to the podcast. But.
Oh, it's out.
I don't think I know I've heard of pickleball, but I don't think I know what that is.
I described it as what? Like if you crossed like regular tennis and ping pong and you played it outside.
And ping pong outside. Like, is there a net?
Yeah, there's a net.
How tall's the net?
It's short. It's like
okay, so like
tennis, like tennis. But then you have like,
but it's like a big paddle.
It's like a paddle, like a ping pong paddle, but it's like big. You know, and then you.
And the ball's like a ping pong ball.
Oh, it's like a wiffle ball, like a ball with holes in it, but it's the size of a tennis ball. Yeah. See, my daughter took it in gym, and so we bought a net. My husband's like, yeah, pickleball, because he took it in high school.
Okay.
Which I didn't. We did. So yeah. So
I had never heard of it until recently.
Yeah, and so it's a big thing, and we like playing that. It's fun. We like bike riding. We went out to Lake McMurtry on the trails not that long ago. That was pretty. We like camping. You know, working together is always fun. So
what does Jeanette do when dinner's over, kids are fed? How does Jeanette relax and wind down?
Netflix and chill, I guess.
Yeah. All right. There you go. So what have you been watching on Netflix? Are you binging any? Are you a binge watcher, or do you just go one episode at a time?
I'm a binger because I have, like, with the kids going to school or me teaching them school, like I'm the IT tech and I'm the everything, right? Mm-hmm. So that's what I do during the day until like 2:30, and then the kids go outside and play. And then I work on my grad work and my thesis and catch up on emails and all that other stuff. And then at night, after the kids go to bed, I'll watch, Netflix with my husband. We watch like movie or something. But
sure.
What's your latest like series or something you've been
that
into?
I watched just myself, Bridgerton.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That was really good.
We're all kind of obsessed with it. The newsroom. We have Bridgerton discussions.
Oh, you do?
Oh boy.
It's crazy. There was one guy who hadn't watched it, and we bullied him until he started.
Oh shoot. I have not watched that one either yet.
It's Regency romance, done a la Shonda Rhimes.
Yeah. I like Grey's Anatomy too.
Yeah.
I like,
it's like Jane Austen meets Grey's Anatomy.
Yeah.
See, I felt good. I got my my partner turned on to binge watching Doctor Who.
Oh, well, I love Doctor Who as well.
It showed up on HBO Max.
Very good. Okay. So yeah, that's a good one. It's very popular. Hey, got approved for, they green-lighted season 2.
I saw that it popped up in my feed the other day. I'm like, yes. I'm like, that's awesome. Oh,
anyway.
I also watch While You Were Sleeping, one of my favorite movies.
Oh, I love that movie.
And then I also love really Shawshank Redemption is another one of my favorite movies.
That is a great one.
That is a classic.
That is a great one.
So it's like...
So is there anything you want people to know that we haven't asked you about? Because we've had a wide-ranging discussion.
I know, it's been crazy, from farm animals to like education and
Netflix.
Stuff. To Netflix.
Yeah.
I think schools are essential. I don't know why we didn't think that in the beginning, but schools are essential. Just like, your Walmart worker. My mom works at Walmart, not here, but back where I grew up. And in the beginning of this pandemic, she didn't have a mask, but she still went to work, as if like bus drivers and Walmart workers and taxi cab and food service and gas station attendants, like everybody, nurses, doctors. And I think, I wonder why, looking back, hindsight's always 20/20, right? Why didn't we deem education essential for our children?
Okay.
That's fair enough.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming in today. We really appreciate it. It was great getting to know you better.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Yeah, it was fun getting to know you guys better too.
All right. Good luck with your candidacy.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks again to Jeanette Burkhart for joining us. Up next, we've got an interview with Bryce Moody, candidate for Stillwater City Council. Our vision at Studio Stillwater is to elevate local voices and tell local stories. This is where you come in. Maybe you know a friend who has an amazing story to share, or maybe that story is yours. We want to hear it. You can get in touch with us via email, studiostillwaterok@gmail.com, or, for the socialites, slide into our DMs on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. You can also send us a voice message by going to anchor.fm/Studio Stillwater. Just hit the add message button to record right from your phone or computer. We would love to feature your voice in a future episode. Before we part, I'd like to ask a favor. If you like the show, tell your friends about it. Thanks again for joining us. Until next time.